Hello everyone and welcome back to Riverview here in City Skylines 2. This is our sort of realistic North American themed metropolitan area, and in the most recent episode we converted a former industrial site into this 5-star hotel and used the developer mode to do a bit of landscaping as well. We also made this construction site, and we're actually having an ongoing vote right now over on my community page for what new development to actually approve here. So if you haven't voted yet, you can jump over and vote as part of the Riverview City Council. In today's episode, we'll be focusing on expanding Riverview's footprint, as we do have quite a bit of high density stuff throughout the metro area. We've got 3 established cities with their own downtown cores by now. So I think to kind of provide a bit of counterweight to this, we need to spread out a little more. So we're gonna work with some sprawl today. And before we start developing, consider liking this video if you enjoy my content and enabling notifications if you don't want to miss out on future content and important votes. Thank you. So the first question should be, where do we start? And I'm thinking we're gonna move west. Wait, I mean east. This east. We're gonna move east because we've got plenty of available land here to fill out with some suburban sprawl, some pavement, some low density single family housing, instead of just having it be recreational forest areas as now. Stuff like that is for hippies, so we're gonna buy this and start developing it. And we are probably at a distance from downtown, any of the downtowns really, where we're gonna need sort of like a small commercial core, or at least like a small road with a few strip malls next to it, so that we have like a local suburban shopping center here. And then we are quickly going to branch out into some of the suburban streets. And we're not really gonna adhere to a grid, but going for some fun curvy bits instead, because that's something we quite frequently see in modern suburban developments. But I'm thinking we're gonna need, of course, infrastructure to actually support this. We've got the main highway that kind of spawns out here and connects to the neighboring city, cutting through this area, so that's nice. We've already got that piece of infrastructure in place, but we are going to need some on and off ramps and intersections to properly support this area. But I'm thinking if we just start by putting down the sort of the main road that we can expect to build this commercial strip alongside, just gonna drag out not too long, something like this. And then from this main avenue we are going to branch out into some of the smaller roads, arterials and collectors that's gonna carry much of the suburban traffic. So we might even go for a roundabout. An American roundabout, oh yeah. And I'm thinking we're gonna try and create this one ourselves. Make it a little bigger than the usual suspects, something like this. Let's see if we can bring this avenue. We'll just bring that here, and then we're gonna branch off. Should probably enable contour lines, gonna make it a little easier for us. And I'm not gonna have a lot of development alongside these 2-lane roads. They're simply the collector roads, or arterials rather. So we can curve them quite a bit. We are not gonna be zoning alongside them. And just bring that a little more east. And I'm thinking we're gonna do the same over here, although we might have to just make the terrain a little easier to work with, because it's quite hilly here. So let's see if we can just smoothen it a little bit. Just gonna make it a little easier. And I think that's fine. It's gonna pose a bit of a challenge for us to actually make it look good with all the inclines, but that's also part of what makes it fun, right? Just gonna try and follow some of the contour lines, bring it up here. We can probably go for a few more tiles. We've got 71 available. And we'll end it somewhere out here. And I'm thinking this one we're actually gonna see if we can cross the highway. Great. All right, so let's see if we can get a proper looking roundabout created here. And I mean, if it doesn't look proper, it's an American one. That's gonna be my excuse. But we'll see. I think I'm gonna refrain from using the highway networks and instead just try to use the road tools. It's a little more challenging, but I think it's gonna look a little better in the end if I manage to do this. We're just gonna flip this, and yeah, I prefer to just create both roads from the actual road that's connecting to the roundabout. I feel like that's a little easier, and I'm gonna do the same over here. The issue is that when we have snapping turned off, we can't really snap to anything but like the central part of the node due to this road being narrow. But if we disable snapping, we should be able to manipulate it to our own content and do something like this, and then we'll go for the second part here and try and do the same and see if we can make it smooth looking. Let's see. We'll do a little upgrade, and it's all right. We can do a little manipulation of our own. And then of course we are going to actually be adding planters so that we don't have these big horde spaces next to the lanes. We don't want people to park here. All right, we've got those two connected, and for Briar Rove Street it's just the same thing, of course. With no snapping enabled, we'll do the first connection here. And just bringing it in like such. And we'll do the second one. It's gonna be a bit of a challenge, really have to stretch this one. And we'll flip it. Cool. Maybe we're gonna upgrade a couple of these segments to 3-laners, just to allow for a little more traffic. And we can do the same over here, and we're not gonna do anything here. Great, let's use our advanced road tools to remove all the crosswalks. We don't want any of that. This is also gonna be a suburban area, so we don't want people walking at all, actually. And we especially don't want people biking, because that's for hippies. All right, next up is gonna be a bit of a roundabout detailing. Just gonna add in the planters and the trees as well to these segments here. I think that covers it all. And then we're gonna do a little detailing, just do a bit of landscaping in the center of the roundabout. Some very simple stuff. So I'm thinking we can grab a cultivated green bush, and we'll go for a circle about 2 meters in distance. Let's just see. Didn't quite get that right. It's good enough. Gonna hold down Shift. And I am using a mod for this, of course. It's not vanilla behavior. I'm using the Line Tool Lite by Algernon. Really recommend you guys check it out. And let's see if we can place a fat oak right in the middle. Yoink. And we might as well just add a few of the very same type of bush to these small islands, basically, just for good measure. Lots of nice detailing that no one is really going to enjoy, because it's gonna be watched from the passenger seat of your truck. But it looks nice. Pretty sweet, huh? There's a good distance to downtown from here, at least. That's gonna be a bit of a commute. Anyways, we've got our central point here in place, and I'm thinking we're gonna need to create some sort of connection from Daffodil Street to the interstate in this vicinity here to, you know, allow easy feeding of vehicles, traffic, and commercial goods as well into the commercial stuff we'll be zoning here alongside Daffodil Street. And I think we're gonna do two things. We're gonna continue Daffodil Street across this river here with a bridge, but like in a smaller configuration, a 2-lane road probably. And then right around here, we're gonna connect to the interstate. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is try to bring this bridge across. I'm just gonna see what angle we would want. So I might actually just curve the road ever so slightly. Such as this. No, not like that. I'm gonna flatten the terrain at first. I'm gonna take this level here and kind of make a bit of a plateau for the bridge we'll be creating. Something like this. And I'm fine with connecting from, you know, not from the center of this road, but from one of the ends of it, because we're gonna have the highway connection right here. So that's hopefully gonna create a bit more of an interesting look. So we'll do something like this. And we can come in and just move this up ever so slightly. Great, and then we'll bring it across. And we're gonna go for the 2-lane truss arch bridge. Although that's gonna be... it's gonna be very long, but I think that's fine. And I can already see I'm gonna have to adjust the curve of the road here, but it's okay. That's okay. Maybe we should raise a segment over here though. Make it a little more hilly. This might even be too much, but we'll try. Actually, scratch that. That's yeah. That's a lot of landscaping for a suburban bridge. But I guess we can imagine that before the interstate, this was the primary connection to this entire area. I guess that sort of makes sense, right? Sorta. We'll get our connection going, and I don't want the bridge to have any slope on it. So we'll be elevating this segment as much as possible. This is fine, and then we'll immediately switch to a 2-lane road and we'll start lowering it. We'll do something like this, and maybe we'll go below the interstate. That could be pretty interesting. And we can have some sort of connection over here as well. But space is getting sort of tight to work with, so we'll have to be careful. Anyways, now we can delete this segment and just bridge this in. No pun intended. There you go. And then I'm thinking if we just create like a stop of some sort here to somewhere like this, then we can connect from both sides, because I think for the you know, the westbound direction here leading into the metro area, ideally we want to go below this bridge segment here, because we don't really have ship traffic here anyways. And then connecting from this this small area and then to the eastbound direction is of course going to be as simple as just an ordinary connection. So I think I'm going to designate the start and end of the on and off ramps first. So I'm just gonna create my own nodes here, and then we're gonna upgrade these segments here. And the easy one is of course just going to be this connection here. I guess that's a bit too easy. Might actually be easier to just do it this way. Yep, and we'll just flip it. Think. This one is going to be a little more tricky. So we'll branch out. And then we'll just kind of have to eyeball this, I think. Because of course this segment needs to be elevated. This is probably fine. We'll try and go below here. And we'll go up as much as possible. But we still need the clearance for trucks, and this seems to be okay. And then it's just a matter of trying to bring it in here. Et voila! That looks all right. So yeah, even it is a little crazy, but we're gonna go ahead with our plans of bringing Walnut Street underneath the interstate here. And we are gonna use our extended road upgrades mod to convert these two segments here. No, wait, these two segments into elevated segments. So these are basically bridge pieces now. Which means we can easily terraform underneath and bring in this road as well. But before we do that, I am going to do a little change to the mountains here. Just gonna make them a little more manageable and give us a little more space here. I know this is really playing God, but it's gonna give us a little more space. And I'm thinking we can get it to look all right as well. So I'm just gonna go in here with the brush rather rough. And then we're gonna come in with the smoothing tool. Something like this. And then perhaps if we jump in with a bit of spruce, we can kind of have it creep up alongside these edges here. Create a cool look. And just fill in the rest. I think that looks pretty good. You can barely see the changes I've made. And I think due to the proximity to the shoreline here, we are actually going to upgrade a different set. So we'll upgrade this stretch instead to the bridge pieces, because that's gonna create a bit more of a height difference. And then we're just gonna settle on some terrain level, maybe here. And we'll just do a tester and see if we can actually fit a road underneath. And we certainly can. I mean, there's plenty of space even. We probably don't need to go lower than this level. Yeah, never mind. Let's see if we can find a contour line over here where the segment is actually at the lowest. That's probably a better idea. We'll go for something like this. Great. Something like this is what we're going for. Just gonna delete these segments here. And we'll do like a softening. And we'll do a bit of softening over here as well. And then we'll build our stretch of highway underneath. That's the first thing. And that, because that can sort of guide us towards the rest. So I'm gonna be cheeky and see if I can just make a direct connection to the bridge without it being too steep. And if I steal a bit of the bridge, I can get it to below 10%, which I think is just fine. And over here it should be pretty easy because we don't have a bridge to connect to. Yeah, pretty nice. And then I think we're just gonna smoothen this out just a bit. And I know we've got some on and off ramps right over here, but I just love creating these, so why not create a few more? We'll upgrade a segment here, and maybe, let's see, can we actually upgrade the elevated segment? Oh, we can. So if we actually do that, it doesn't align properly, so we'll have to turn off snapping, do it ourselves. Something like this, and then we can connect to the actual highway. But we'll of course need to upgrade a few of these segments as well. So if the off-ramp starts around here and this off-ramp starts around here, let's see if we can create a very, very smooth ramp here. So we're gonna branch out. Yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? I think we might get a few texture issues here. So instead, I'm gonna create a new node. Make sure this segment is upgraded so we can connect to here. Should be a little easier for us. We might even be able to gonna create a new node over here as well, just so we can get it perfect. And then we're gonna try and yeet it and see if this is gonna work. Let's see. There's a connection point. Oh. Yeah, this doesn't look too healthy. Can we fix this by just doing slight adjustments until we get clipping issues? It seems we can. So there's a bit of an issue here, but here it's gone. And then we should be able to just connect this segment up. Perfect. Almost perfect. I'm hoping this one over here is going to be a little easier. I'm going to use the slope terrain tool again, just reduce the size. Right click here and then start all the way down here, so that we have a clear path for our on-ramp. And I think that's just about enough infrastructure for now. Everything's at least connected up and should function with a few utility connections as well. We're gonna jump into actually starting to build and develop this community. Gonna go for a pretty basic grid layout for this area here, where we'll have most of the commercial establishments and lots of surface parking lots. And then as we branch out, we're gonna go for some more curvy, interesting street layouts to kind of mimic more modern suburban developments. Let's just jump straight into it. All right, let's have a little look at what we've built so far. A bit of an odd street layout, really. Tried to get a bit creative with the access point to the interstate, as well as just the overall suburban layout of some of these streets. Placed down a high school as well, because I'm pretty sure that we're needing more capacity for the metro area in general, but that's going to be the case for a couple of things if I start looking into the city statistics, so let's not do that, but move on to some actual zoning. So I've already zoned my main commercial strip here alongside Franklin Street, made room for a bit of office stuff over here in this triangle, and I'm probably going to be designating maybe a park or two, maybe this odd shape here, and maybe put down like a medical clinic as well, and a firehouse potentially, so that this whole thing doesn't burn down. So I'm thinking we can just place one or two services before we move on. And the medical clinic, where do we place it? Somewhere alongside this central street. I'm gonna disable snapping, giving us a bit more freedom and enabling us to just move it back from the street a bit. Something like that looks fine. Let's see, do we actually need a dedicated police station as well? We might, because I think crime is one of the main detractors of the city. People are generally happy, but crime is definitely up there. So let's just get this bad boy placed as well. And we're gonna go for free placement as well to just draw it back from the street a bit, as I do appreciate that look. I'm very happy how the part of the surfaces from assets will automatically connect to the street, even if you bring it back a bit. I think that looks pretty sweet. And this looks a bit odd due to the slope, so maybe I should. You know what? I'm just gonna see if I can squeeze it in somewhere else. Maybe right here alongside the street here instead. Something like this, because then what we can do is just upgrade this to a key walled street as such, and then we can smoothen the terrain here a bit. Yeah, that looks a little better at least, I think. Great. Anyways, zoning is gonna be the big one, and I'm gonna do pretty basic low density residential zoning throughout, but I'm probably gonna play a bit around with some of the zoning sizes. So if we've got this whole block here, then instead of just downright zoning it, I'm going to be experimenting a bit with zoning tile sizes instead. Because usually I find that gives a bit of a better result, because when we've zoned everything up and things are starting to grow, I'm going to throw in a ton of trees out here so that it's a really foresty, bushy suburb. So the more empty space I have, the more dead space, so to say, between zoned lots, the more trees I'll be able to cram in. Basically, and I'm also going to extensively upgrade some of the streets to keys, because that's gonna allow me to basically force zoning. Like this, for instance. Yeah, something like that. So I'm gonna use that technique throughout as well, because that's very, very helpful. And like for a street like Autumn Street, we can have houses on both sides, or you can choose to upgrade one section to a key, and then you will have some larger lots facing Washington Lane instead. So yeah, it's very much just preference and trying to use the techniques we do have available to create a unique and diverse look. When it comes to these neighborhoods, or these streets rather, that are on a pretty steep incline, then it becomes even more important for me to ensure that I have some empty space between the streets, because otherwise we're gonna have some pretty ugly terraforming effects. So to force this, we can do one of two things. We can either turn this side into a key, so that for instance like this, so that the houses will kind of protrude and have like a raised foundation that they're placed on. Or alternatively, you can do the opposite, like this, where the houses instead are kind of, you know, the lots are kind of cleared into the actual, like the soil, creating another terraforming effect. I generally prefer the raised lot effect. So what I mean by that is actually enabling keys here so that we've got a bit of a raised foundation. It still looks odd if it's too steep, but I think it's a little more realistic than actually going into the soil or like the you know, rock to actually clear that space for a foundation. I don't think that's done very often. So what you'll see me doing is adding the keys so that we can actually have the houses protrude, so to say. So the keys will go on the northern part of, or well, it's actually the eastern part. Over here, we might actually go for... Now, we're not gonna have houses here. They're gonna cut too much into the actual ground and it's gonna look odd. I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this up. So nothing much more for me to do than just start zoning this whole thing up, and then I'll get back to you when we're done and see how it actually turns out. Made sure not to fill out the entire lot, because then the you know, the terrain clipping or the terrain height differences we're gonna have right next to the road here is going to be a little too severe. This might even be too much actually, so we might move in and reduce it, reduce the depth of the lot a little more to make sure that the terrain actually looks all right. Then I tried to go for many different types of sizes of the lots to promote as many diverse assets as possible. Left room in between each house pretty much, so that when we start spamming trees afterwards, we'll actually get like a really foresty, bushy look to it, which should hopefully make it look like a very desirable place to live. And then the final touch was just moving through the entire area and mixing in some European low-density housing as well. Because fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on how you see it, the low-density single-family homes are generally so generic that you can mix both themes in any type of city. So I like to do that just to get as many different housing variants as possible. We are just going to create a district out of it so that we can actually track its statistics, and something that's going to be very interesting to showcase is just how low a population figure we are actually going to see out here due to the low density. So despite this area having quite a sizable footprint, there's probably not even going to be 1,000 people out here, but we'll see. I think we're gonna name this suburb Kendrick. And those of you who know what this is a reference to here on my channel, you're the true OGs. Now, right before we hit play, there's an additional little change I would like to do, because I feel that a suburb like this would have a few more workplaces than we've already put in place. Especially considering that if we check city statistics, we're likely to see our unemployment numbers, at least in raw figures, go up, and that's only going to be worsened by adding in all the extra housing out here. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is create like a strip here with high-tech offices. I can't really decide on it being high-tech, but I guess that fits the theme for a relatively high-income suburb such as this. And then what we're going to do to kind of separate the offices from facing the same road as housing units is that I'm going to move in here and just get in an additional small road in place. Just gonna drag it out. And I think something like this is probably sufficient. Then we're going to ensure that we can actually zone on it appropriately, and then I'm just going to quickly add in the housing units we need. Luckily, the terrain here is relatively flat, so we don't have to be so wary about how we choose to zone it up. And this was European, so switching to American, going for the brush, we'll be able to diversify it a bit like this. And then for good measure, we're gonna add this as a tree-lined boulevard, and maybe even the tiniest of details by actually adding a path here. That did mess up our zoning ever so slightly, so we're just gonna change that up. There you go. I'm hopeful that this is gonna look all right. There's gonna be plenty of trees here as well, so it is gonna be kind of tree-lined, this small suburban office park. So yeah, hopefully it's the look I'm going for that I'm gonna be able to achieve here, and it's gonna break up the kind of monotony of this area just a bit, having a row of office buildings here. And with this in place, we should probably add in a bit of an off-ramp here as well. So we're gonna do a little trickery just to force some new nodes just where we want them. And then it's just a matter of trying to connect this up to this roundabout here. And that's fine enough. I think that's fine enough. So I'm gonna hit play and things are gonna start growing, and oh, nice. And the simulation is going to slow down a bit because of all the new agents moving into the city. So I'm thinking that in just a moment or two, we're gonna start spamming trees on the more, the residential areas of the city. And then we're gonna move in and start doing a little extra detailing of Kendrick, just while everything is growing. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do is, and you don't have to do this, of course, it's very much preference, but I'm gonna smooth out some of these pretty rough edges here. And the way I'm gonna do that is just to right click on each lot and just quickly left click so that I terraform out. I'm just gonna showcase it quickly here by doing it with these homes here. And then I'm gonna grab the soften terrain tool, and then I'm just gonna soften the very edges of the homes here. And then we're gonna have this drop off here instead of the one we have over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for most of the houses here that are on a pretty steep incline. And that really helped make everything look just a bit more smooth. It's not perfect, it really is tricky to build on steep terrain due to how the assets work, unfortunately, but we can get a long way with a few simple steps. Next up, we're gonna upgrade for some sound barriers alongside our highway. I'm pretty confident one would prioritize that in an area such as this. Where the interstate runs very, very close to living quarters. So we're just gonna go ahead and get that established for all parts of the interstate that are adjacent to residential developments. And I guess the office stuff as well. So that while you're slowly dying in front of your Excel sheet, calculating useless stuff, at least you don't have to listen to the highway, right? That's a positive. Did that cover everything? We might even be cheeky and add in between there. Nice. Then we're gonna spam trees, and I'm gonna try and avoid spamming in this park area here and near the commercial area, because I'm gonna do a little more intricate detailing with some trees. Nothing crazy, but just a little more serious. Let's see if we can fix this up a bit. There we go. So we're gonna grab the oak, my favorite tree in game, because it's big and thick. And then we're gonna start spamming. I'm using the tree controller mod, which fortunately allows me to designate the age of the trees I'm spawning, so I don't have to wait 2.5 real life lifetimes to actually see a grown tree in game, which is very nice. I'm gonna refrain from spawning too many oaks here alongside this steep incline. Gonna spawn a few more spruces when we get to those. And I use oaks first because they have the biggest footprint. And then afterwards I change it up to the spruce and start spamming those. They have a much smaller footprint, so they can get in between all these spots where the game didn't really feel that an oak would be spawned, or could be spawned rather. So that's gonna create one of the densest looks we can achieve. And if you want to make it really dense, you're gonna have to start adding some of the poplars, which is a very, very small tree from the European theme that you can also add in. But I think we're starting to get there. We've probably also had 50,000 trees by now. Gonna switch to the, let's see, there we have it, the spruce. And we can go a little closer to the edge now, because I want spruce here on the more inclined parts as well as up the mountain. Then for a bit of extra detailing, nothing fancy, we're gonna grab the, what's it called, this, the apple tree? Maybe? Yeah, I'm gonna drag it as a straight line right behind these commercial areas. Yoink. Quick and easy. Gonna conduct a little upgrade of Franklin Street so that we can actually have some trees in the center as well. Make it all just a bit more green. Same with Franklin Street, don't really want people to park out here anyways. Another little detail I'll be adding is upgrading the inside of these high lanes to a key. Because it's gonna look like, you know, central barriers basically alongside the highway, which does look pretty cool. One thing to note is that it's gonna cause a bit of shadow glitching when you move really close, but otherwise I think it looks really, really cool to add these in. And of course I'm only ever gonna do this because we've got mods now allowing these easy upgrades, otherwise I would not be bothering, that's for sure. And I'm not gonna do this the entire way, just for the interstate segments that stretch through Kendrick. So we're starting down there and we pretty much went all the way up here. And then a final thing you can do if you're a bit of a nerd, which I am, is to add a pavement surface to like the long central stretch of the highway, the part that kind of cuts through town. So we're actually gonna do this. And we'll go all the way down here. Let's see. And maybe we'll stop here at this bridge here. And then all the way underneath. And this is basically just a surface from the developer mode. There's just a new mod out that allows you to easily select it. Extra terraforming tools, maybe it's called. And click. And then we've got like a paved median as well, which looks pretty cool. And since we did unlock that sweet office signature building, what's it called? Coda Park. It's very creative. We might as well add that into the town. Very nice. We'll just add very simple pathway as well, just to kind of flank it. And then for good measure, I think we're just gonna finish up with a tiny bit of surface painter use, just to actually make this a little more clear as a recreational area, an actual park with a fire station in the middle of it. It's fine. It's a little odd, okay. But otherwise, we're just gonna add in a bit of surface painting here. just to create the park. And I think it's gonna be nice. Yeah, there we go. And I think we're gonna do just the same for the school here. Just gonna add a bit of extra greenery. And we can, fortunately, it's already got lots of surfaces we can easily play with. And this is one of the things that I'm pretty excited with in City Skylines 2, how the surfaces interact, how they're coupled to the actual, what's it called? The actual assets, and what that means for future possibilities in the game. Hopefully something cool and nice. But for now, it of course allows us to create some pretty interesting things. Pretty simple things, of course, but interesting nonetheless. And I think this just about covers it. Now, of course, we could go much heavier with the detailing, but I've got a feeling that you guys also enjoy just seeing proper massive city scale expansions, especially here in Riverview. So I want to keep it simple and just add the kind of detailing where I feel we really get a lot of bang for the buck, such as the detailing we did to the highway. Oh, there's that graphic glitch. Oi, oi, oi. Let's not zoom in. But anyways, building Kendrick was a ton of fun, and I'm really happy with how this suburb turned out. Interesting to hear whether you guys would live in Kendrick. It's quiet out here, of course, especially if you live outside here, like at the hillside. But on the flip side, you do have quite a long commute into downtown if you actually need to go and conduct any business down there. And we do have quite awesome streets down here as well that are very centrally located. This is Olive Lane, where all the houses are level 5 by now and look pretty cool and beautiful. Obviously an extremely expensive place to live, but also very close, like walking distance to downtown. So it's quite the contrast to Kendrick. Let me know what you'd actually prefer down in the comments. But this is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching and all the awesome support. I'll make sure to shoot some cool cinematics for you guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.